All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Freedom Team. It is good to have you here Tuesday morning. If you are a guest with us, welcome. We are here every Tuesday. Same Zoom link, same time, pouring back into agents. Tim Holland, good to see you. It's good to have Tim here. So, anyway, it is great to be here. It's always great to be together, learning new stuff all the time here. We do this like I said, every Tuesday. And if you want to join us tomorrow, we're back here. And Wednesdays is just an open mastermind. We talk about anything and everything. A lot of times we're talking about what we talked about here, just expanding on it, coming up with ideas. We're doing all kinds of stuff on Wednesdays as well. So, anyway, guys, definitely excited to have Shaune back. Shaune did a training for us, which I'm going to actually put that training, the link to his first training that he did. I think it was back in December. I think, Shaune, yeah. I'm
Yes,
going to put
sir.
that link right here in the chat if you want to go back and watch that. Kind of a part one. And, Shaune called me up and whatever. We were talking back in December. He's like, hey, man, I got some great stuff I'd love to share. And it was, the training that he did in December was phenomenal. Shaune is big, he's been an agent. How long have you been an agent, Shaune? How many years?
It's 15 plus.
15 years? Okay. And but he's been an icon now at EXP for 6 years. And if for any of you guys, if you're not part of EXP or anything like that, which is great to have you here, you're always welcome. It's not an EXP thing, but that's a big thing at EXP. When you cap and doing another 20 deals on top of that or more, you're an icon agent at EXP, and EXP rewards those agents, by giving them all their cap back in the form of stock. And he's hit that 6 times. It's just a huge accomplishment. These are the big agents and big producing agents. And so Shaune has a lot of things to share. He had a brokerage, in the past, still has a big team that he works with. But he shared in the last training that he taught, out of his sphere, his database and his sphere, 1 out of every 7 people in his sphere led to a closing last year. That's huge. That conversion rate is huge to be able to do that. How many of us are spending all kinds of money on marketing and new leads and new stuff and all these kind of things? When you've got this sphere of people, if you can get their trust and get them to know you, like you, win them over, it's like they will keep you busier than you even want to be, probably, without having to spend all that money. And Shaune has become a master at that. So we're here to do part 2 and listen to Shaune and learn from Shaune. So Shaune, I got my notepad right here. I got my pen. I'm ready to go. So grab your pens and paper, guys, because you're going to get some good stuff here. So Shaune, appreciate you coming in, man. Thanks for doing this, as always.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me again. I appreciate it. It's good to see all of you back. It's an area that I really have a lot of passion in, and I'm going to talk a little bit why. And, if nothing else, it's duplicatable. Every human that sells real estate can do this, and it costs almost no money. It's just being a little bit more systematized in the way that you approach real estate. This particular class that I'm going to be talking about, it's part 2 from what I talked about in December. And there's, I made it a 4-hour class, just so you know. So I'm condensed it down to just what we can take away today and really be planning the way that we approach our sphere of influence. In the past, I think I've taught on even taxes, right? Something that nobody talks about. I talked about how to cut taxes as an entrepreneur. Most of us don't even have that conversation. I think I've taught on open houses. And, spheres has been something that's come up the last couple of years for me. And it's when I'm watching people that know, like, and trust me, and they don't give me the opportunity to sell them a house or work with them. And the reason why they don't is because I'm not top of mind. I know a lot of you have been selling real estate long enough. You've gotten your feelings hurt. We had a close friend, a relative that didn't call us when it was time to sell real estate. And sometimes it's for the best. And then other times you're not top of mind. They know you as, Chuck. They know you as Andy. They know you as Ryan. They don't know you as the guy that can actually help get them through a transaction and help them build success with that. I try to drop this in the deal. I did something, I call it a personal action plan. It's basically a worksheet. Does that work, Jeff? I just dropped it in there. It looks like it worked. I'll refer back to it a little bit. It really takes me through the entire, presentation that I work on. We're going to do mainly on the last couple of pages. When we come to it, I'll share that with you. But let me go ahead and share my screen because I can kind of talk about all kinds of random things for a while. I want to make sure I stay on point here. And I am going to ask questions. So, help me out with some responses because all of us can relate to, a sphere of influence. I'll tell you one thing. This is something that's really important. You guys have all been to trainings before. Y'all have gone to in-person trainings. I just went to a big one in January at the MetroTex Association of Realtors, which is our NETRIS, which is Dallas Fort Worth MLS and the association. And they had a big training there called Game On. There were about 250, 300 people there. And every speaker had something to share. And I'm telling you, 90% of the speakers all covered the same exact topic. And it had to do with how do we build our sphere? Okay. We all have training that teaches us how to add more people. And that's great. The problem is I had, 4,000 names in my phone. And I only get referrals from about 50 for all these years, right? What in the world am I missing? It's because I'm not staying in front of my sphere. I didn't systematize it. And the objective here is to stay in front of your sphere without making them mad at you, right? Blasting them with real estate every single day. Um, so let me talk a little bit about the high level. The cool thing about success in your sphere is no investment is needed to do this, is what I said in the beginning. We're not, you don't have to break out a bunch of money to start working this thing. And right now, all of you can close 40 transactions a year plus with your own database today. And when I refer to your own database, I'm talking 300 names that are in your primary. Any of you think you can come up with 300 names in your primary database? If you can do that and stay in front of them, that's 40 plus transactions a year mathematically. Gary Keller approves it. Brian Eisenhower, who is kind of the authority in this real estate sphere of influence system, both said the exact same thing. I think Gary said 36 touches a year, and Brian says 40 touches a year. Okay, I teach 40. I think that's effectively, it's not much harder to go a little bit farther. You work your own schedule. Anybody want to work with people they actually like instead of whatever randomly gets thrown at you? You know, I know Sean Sturrock was teasing me last time about, sharing. I only work about 6 hours a day, Monday through Friday in the office. I'm in my office right now. I don't work weekends. And I don't work evenings. Okay. And you guys are in a business where all customers are weekends and evenings. And there's a way to effectively build out a system where you're not working weekends and evenings. I I hate to tell you this, but I'm going to probably push that to a later lesson because it's something I call scalability. I'm going to show you kind of where I'm going with all of this. But the objective is we want to surround our business around people that like, know, and trust. I don't have to sell them. I don't have a listing presentation. I don't have a buyer presentation. People call me and said, I want to do real estate and I solve real estate problems. That's the space that I really wanted to work in. So I built a system to get there. It's very intentional. It's a workshop format. I gave you your personal action plan. I dropped it in chat. And we're not going to do the first few pages. You can skip to probably, I think, page 4 or 5. That's kind of where we're going to be focused on in this particular section. And I'm going to show you how to work and find those people. I'm not going to do that today. That was lesson 1, how to find them. So where do we find these primary people? And then who should be on it, who shouldn't? Minimum systems you need to manage your sphere and get a personal touch plan to stay in front of your sphere. I'm going to give you some sample ones that are included in that personal action plan. So you have a specific plan that you can put into place right away. No cold calls. I can do it, but I've never done it. I've never had a reason to do it. I don't do door knock. I don't do postcard campaigns, no FISBOs, no expired listings, no pay for lead programs, and no cold follow-ups, which means no CRM is needed. You ever heard someone get on here and tell you you don't need a CRM? I'm telling you that I don't have a CRM that I use. Okay. I'm going to say some pretty outlandish things. It's because it's the way I think about it. I didn't go work at Coldwell Banker or Keller Williams and they teach me all these things. I started in my garage. I mean, I grabbed a sign, I got one made and came up with a brand that I thought sounded great. It's called True S Realty. Sounds like a big brand. I didn't want to put my name on it. And I just started putting signs in yards and I started selling houses. I mean, this is back in 2008, 2009 when I started. And And somehow it's worked all these years. And I've since, cleaned it up and made it a lot more effective. And then I teach agents the same things. This is just a space that I really think is valuable. I don't like the spend money to make money kind of deal. I think there's ways to build your business without. Um, we're not going to talk about sphere of influence, but the main thing I want you to know about the most important part of your sphere of influence is your primary. Your primary is people that know you by first name and you know them by first name. Okay. I'm going to use that as the distinguishing factor. So in your sphere of influence, we're going to look at our phone. I think I had 4,000 names and numbers. And the hardest part about all of this is it took me almost 3 months of going through my entire phone and categorizing them either primary, secondary, other, or agent. Okay. All this is in my first session, but the focus is getting that primary to a real number. And that's people that know you by first name and you know them by first name. Okay. That's our very first exercise. It's the hardest thing you're going to do. Now, when we do this, we need to make sure we get a phone number and in an email and their name. That's all we need. Those three things. And you can effectively build this out. So from a high level, my first area that I focus is with people that do about one transaction a month. I call it success without spending. It's been a big mantra for me. I want to show you how to build out your buckets without spending money. And there's about 4 or 5 core buckets we can build out where we don't have to pay someone to give us deals. Okay. That's our initial starting point. That's what I usually start agents with, is to start setting up their buckets. And then the second thing we do is this program right here is success in your sphere. Now we're closing 2 to 3 transactions a month. And now we're going to learn in the next, over 3 to 4 or 5 years, we're going to get to a point where we're not doing anything without people having a relationship with us. Okay. This is the space that I operate in. A lot of you enjoy the cold space. A lot of you spend money to create those cold opportunities. You can niche all day. I think this works really well with niche markets. If you're niche, like Andy, killer YouTube deal, loved it. Stole a bunch of your ideas, and I'll have to pay you for it later. I know people in my market that do the same kind of thing. They learn how to build their YouTube system, and they build crazy cool niche opportunities where people call them for business, right? We want people to call us. We don't want to chase them. And he niches it. It works incredibly well. Now Andy has a client, closes them. Now we're going to sphere of influence them, right? We're going to stay in front of them. We're going to consistently stay in front of them. And then the last level for me is I call it success through scaling. Scaling is where we work when we want to work, we work with who we want to work with, and we do volume with the proper staff in place. So it increases our hourly wage. We're trying to increase our value per hour that we can make. Not going to roll that out at this point, but that's where I'm going, because I've done a lot of VA work. I've got assistants, I've got buyer agents, and I've got a whole lot of things built into scaling my business. This is a little bit about me. I've got the #1 podcast for real estate agents here in Dallas, Fort Worth. I call it Real Estate Success DFW with Shaune Corbett, the founder of a community on School. It's a free community where I connect with other agents and help them grow their business. And I'm going to share that at the end, how to find that. I'm currently top 0.5% of all real estate agents nationally. Over 300 million sold, and I've done over 500 transactions. All right here in Dallas, Fort Worth. Okay. 95% of my closings are sphere of influence, and I receive a referral every business day of the week. Okay, that's really, really important. That's where we all want to be. I get a lead every day of the week on average. Some days I get 2 or 3, and some days I get 0. And that equates to about 8 to 10 transactions a month, because obviously you get a referral, they're not writing checks tomorrow, right? It takes time to cultivate them and then match up what they really want to do. Personal action plan, I mentioned that. That's what we're going to be using as our kind of springboard. Get to 13. All right, this is where I'm kind of advancing it a little bit. You got to know the rule of thumb. Okay. Jeff mentioned it earlier. The way I think about it is, for every 7 people in your primary database, you should expect 1 referral if you touch them 40 times a year. Okay. This is important because you're not going to get 40 referrals tomorrow. You're going to get 40 referrals after a year of successfully doing this. Okay. You've got to fill out a year of this. After a year, that means 40 plus referrals based on about 300 people in your primary sphere. Okay. Um, the goal right now is just to get to 300 in your primary sphere. And I'm not going to talk about ways to do that. That was the first lesson. I mentioned the breakup of how I break it up. I do primary, secondary, other, and agent. I like agent because I want to coach and help other agents grow their business. You don't have to put agents in your phone, but I think for all of us in a space where it would benefit having relationships with them, it might be a good idea to track them. And then I use other for my doctor, my dentist. I don't need to put them on any type of campaign, but I got to have them in my phone, right? All right, this is where the meat of today is going to be. Our primary sphere growth plan. So we we have to grow beyond the original setup. In session one, I talk about how to find those people, how to build out your sphere, how to set the core and build it, right? So all of us have them in our phone. You got to work through, we got to build that. The second level is going to, you got to keep growing it. You get 300, great. Every week you should be adding somebody, go to network events, join some clubs, meet people at church, meet people at, in your life where you're at and make that connection. We're going to target one primary entry every single week. That's 50 new people a year. Let's grow that primary sphere, and your referrals are going to continue to grow, from that point on. I give some really specific tips on how to do that. Ask people what they do for a living, right? I mean, how about basic as that? If somebody asks you what you do for a living, do you naturally ask them what they do for a living? I mean, it's kind of, part of the conversation. Make sure I'm not missing anything. No questions or anything. I don't see any like hands or anything. Sometimes I just get to talking. I'm not. I'm trying to work on getting the interaction too to get some other people so no one's falling asleep out there. Um, Create a 30-second pitch for what you do. If someone asks you what you do you just tell them you sell real estate, or do you tell them you change lives, or do you tell them, something that they're going to remember you? My core is always I solve real estate problems. That's really kind of always been my nut, that I choose to crack. I solve real estate transaction problems. I help people solve real estate problems. Do you want to buy? Do you want to sell? Everyone has a problem in the transaction. Otherwise they wouldn't need you. We're here to solve that problem. You should get a name and a cell, but you got to get an email to really maximize the opportunity. Email is probably one of the most valuable things that you can have. Okay. It's how you set up your newsletters. It's how you connect on social media sometimes. It's how we create some type of ongoing campaign. I use HomeBot. I use EvaBot. I use all these systems that's email driven. And we don't want their work email. We want their personal email. Let's get permission. For example, I set up HomeBot. I'm going to share what HomeBot is in a moment. A statement I might say, hey, I've got a really cool way to track the equity in your home, and it will also help you with fighting taxes. Would you be open to that? And they'll say, normally, inevitably, sure. All right, can I get your email address so I can set that up for you at no cost? There's ways to say things cleanly, to make sure we get that email address. All right, so why do we need a touch plan? This goes back to the original thing I talked about when we started. There are people that know, like, and trust you that are not calling you to do real estate. It's because you're not top of mind. We've got to get top of mind with people in our primary database. I don't call or text. The old style is, hey, do you know anybody that needs to buy or sell real estate? If y'all been doing this for a long time, that used to be kind of a tag call that you should do with your sphere of influence. I think at this point, a lot of that's kind of evolved, and it sounds salesy, which it is. If we stay top of mind, then when you make a personal call, we're not talking about real estate. How you doing? How is, your aunt? How are your kids? I saw that on Facebook. They won a tournament. That's incredible. Have some type of ongoing conversation, a couple of times a year. Those calls are what's going to turn into opportunities more effective than anything else you will do. but it doesn't work by itself. You got to have an ongoing touch system and staying in front of and being top of mind. The average person in your database is going to forget you sell real estate only after a couple months. It might even be less than that. It could be a month, you know. Oh yeah, you sell real estate. They might remember the very first time, but they don't remember it until you gauge on a phone call. And all of a sudden they remember it again. And those phone calls are so important because it triggers their memory and it creates a real estate conversation almost half the time. Just because, how's the market? Or, they normally ask the generic question. Everybody always asks that. It'll trigger them. Oh, yeah, my brother, he's going to be moving here from out of state. Oh, okay. Well, that's really good. Does he have someone that's going to help him with that? You know, and I help people in other states too. I mean, some of you are comfortable with that, some of you aren't. But remember, my goal is always to solve real estate problems. Um, any questions so far? I know I'm talking a lot. Does anyone have any comments or anything? Am I doing all right, Jeff?
You're doing good. Anybody got anything real quick before we move on? Comments, thoughts, questions? Great stuff.
I
Yeah, I
think when
got
I get
one.
into some of the nuts and bolts, are going to be some things. Do you saying something, Jim?
Yeah, sure was. Hey, man, thanks for the prezzo today. Yeah, I'm just curious, how are you without a CRM? What are you doing? And I may be getting ahead of you, but what are you doing to stay in touch with everybody in your sphere, like with newsletters or weekly emails? How's that going?
I love that question, Jim. How do I
Well,
run
thank you.
a real estate business without a CRM? I do have KV Core because I'm at EXP and I use KV Core for real estate online leads. But let me tell you what a CRM does. It tracks cold. It turns cold to warm. That's what it's designed to do. I mean, that's the way I think about it. What if you don't have any cold? Then I don't need to make that conversion now. Now, what Jim's alluding to is there's still a systematized purpose of when did I touch them last? When did I text them last? When did I send out the last newsletter? And I'm going to show you some example touch plans that's going to kind of answer through that. Okay. Now, you could still track a few things, but 90% of it is going to be done. The only thing it's not going to track is text and phone calls. But most of the rest of it, social media touching them, newsletters, EvaBot, HomeBot, all these things are running. And I don't need a CRM to do it because I'm touching them. But I love the question. I just have a different philosophy. I'm not trying to cultivate cold leads. I'm trying to cultivate my warm database and keep top of mind with them. That's always been my specific target. And I don't use it for this program. If you niche market, if you reaching out and building a niche market, or if you have a cold system, then a CRM is no problem. But the objective is we want to get them all to the warm plus status, right? That's really kind of what we're focused on. Any other questions? I love that question.
How do you organize that then? I mean, and I can't remember if you talked about that in the first training. I forget. But I mean, maybe you're going to show us some of that because again,
Yeah,
I mean, you got them warm now, but still to keep. Oh, I need to. It's been a month since I talked to this person or whatever you're trying to do. How do
sure.
you
Well,
work?
they go in my secondary. You
Okay,
remember there's primary, secondary, other, and agent. Secondary
gotcha.
is a group. You know, I shared this last time. This might help just for perspective. I think this might help.
Sure.
Um, you still see my screen?
Yeah.
Contact Plus, you can see
Hmm.
this. Okay.
Oh, that's
So
right. I remember that now. Okay.
yeah, so here is and I really went into detail last time. It's really important that you have some type of system. I have an Apple iPhone. Okay. In an Apple iPhone, you're able to, if you go to your contacts on the main screen or on your contact page, if you go in there from contacts, you press at the top left button, you hit the list button, and all of a sudden you can actually create a list. My list is primary, secondary, other, and agent. And I assign every single person into one of those categories. Okay. I set up a system on Contact Plus. It's $100 a year. And I can go through what's a good one? All right. Joanna reached out to me on one of my lease properties. Okay. I'm very specific. I target them and I set them up. She's trying to lease a property for me right now. I don't know her by first name. She doesn't know me by first name. So she goes on my secondary. Secondary is going to get a newsletter from me. Okay. There she is right here. Now in Contact Plus, they call it tags. On Apple, it's called lists. They're referring to the exact same category. Okay. And whenever I add someone new, I go through and I make sure I have a tag and a phone and their name, and I try to always get an email address. And it's real easy. I check it once a month and I see all the people I'm missing, and then I go through and I fill it in what I'm missing. So I keep growing this. Right now, on my primary, I have 707. Okay. Remember our goal primary? 300.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know I probably need to go through and clean out some because I probably don't have 700 people I know by first name, but I just put them in there because I had a good dialogue. We had connection. You really want to make sure it's a target market so you can give them more intimate information, share more personal things. The more organic and more personal you are, the better chance you're going to have for making an impact and connecting. I have to clean up my own database. I'm just showing you how I manage my database. This is my CRM effectively. And all it is a program that's accessing my Apple contacts. And if I change something here, it changes it on my Apple phone. If I change it on my Apple phone, it changes it here. And it even has really cool cleanup options. So it went out, it found Joanna probably on LinkedIn, and it said, oh, this is what she does for a living. This is an address that she uses. And then I can apply it. It adds it to her contact for me. Okay. There's some really cool things with Contact Plus. This has taken me a long time to kind of like work through systems to find ways to kind of clean all this up. So I'm shortcutting a lot of things for you if you want to get really into the space. And the reason why I like this is because I can manage my whole database way easier here on a desktop than my phone. It still took me, 2.5, 3 months on here, but I can't imagine trying to have done all this on my phone. It would have worn me out. And you can easily run kind of like reports and stuff and check what you're missing and all that kind of stuff.
And not,
So,
not to get too deep into the weeds here, Shaune, but like let's say you wanted to email your primary contacts. Like what's the quick answer to that? Like in the sense, if I want to email all of them, you know what I mean? Like, can you pull the group out somehow through this? Like you pull out the tag, here's all the primaries, and how do you send them something? What do you
uh,
do?
this is my assistant's work, but
Okay.
I'll tell you what she's doing
All
because
right.
I don't do this, but I know
Yeah,
that
yeah.
she. So I hit primary, right? From
Okay.
here, there's a button somewhere here that you can just export this
Okay.
into a spreadsheet, and then we upload it into BombBomb.
Gotcha.
That's
Okay.
how I do my newsletters I don't have it on a Zapier or anything like that. I wanted to kind of make a streamlined system. I chose Contact Plus as my purpose. So I can add primary and secondary, for example, which I think bumps it up to like 1,500. Oh, sorry. Let's take primary off. I have 665. So, 13, 1,400 people that I'll send a newsletter to every single month. So she checks both of these, she exports them, and then we upload it into BombBomb, and BombBomb is my email system. That's how I email everyone.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good question. I don't have, and I was, I've been texting you, Jeff, and I actually, checked with Kathy and Eric as well on a texting system. Anyone on here have a way to text your database? Anyone have ideas or thoughts? I'm kind of stuck with it. I went to a program,
Yeah.
Textedly or whatever it is, and I know you guys use it. The problem is you've got to get permission on the very first text if you use the system for them to opt in. It's not one of these where they send it out with the opt out option. No, you have to opt in. And I don't want to freeze myself out with, most of my people. So I didn't want to do that anyway. I'm looking for a text system because I want to text my whole database at least a couple times a year with something really valuable to them. I have some specific messages that I think would really connect with my audience. So I'm working on that right
I've
now.
used Reach. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's even viable for something like this. That
No,
big
no
of a
way.
list. No.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't text 700 people because it texts them one at a time.
Does it one at a time.
Oh, it'd
You know,
kill me. Yeah,
your
and a lot of
assistant.
it's
That's what your assistant's for, Shaune. Like, just
yeah.
get her thumbs to work, man.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
it does it for you. System, it does it, but it'll fill up my entire text database. I'd have to
Yeah.
use another phone number.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah. So
Makes sense.
anyway, I know it's going to come from a random number to each one of my personal friends and so I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I know
So
there's programs out there. It's be a matter of finding the right one. But
yeah, KV Core, a lot of them do it, but they're doing it through that phone number, and it's not going to be personable. I don't, I don't have to introduce. Hey, it's Shaune Corbett. This is using my second phone number. I don't know. That's something I'm trying to solve. I haven't reached that point yet,
right.
so I don't have all of it figured out.
Couple questions real quick in the chat. Can we hit
Oh,
those? And I don't
yeah,
want
of
to slow
course.
you
Yeah.
down here. If we need to
Yep.
do a part three, Shaune, we'll bring you back. So Marie had a question. Do you have different emails for different buyers? You know, for example, first time buyers. Do you have different things like that you do?
Quite honestly, I'm not using this to educate
Okay.
people in that sense, right? So I'll send out real estate. Like I'm going to tell everyone about, the importance of filing for homestead for everyone that closed last year, right? Or I'm gonna tell you the tax problem of property taxes in Texas because that's where we're at. It's high tax, and I'm gonna tell you how to go fight the tax district and win. That's what I'm going to share and talk about. I don't target first time home buyers. I don't separate anything out. I want to give good real estate information that helps everyone. And the newsletter is from, I use Keeping Current Matters. Okay. And I'm going to tell you one of my failures. Um, you know, I don't generally have analysis paralysis. I just jump in and start doing things. But it took me from the time I got my database cleaned up to send out my very first newsletter was more than 6 months. Okay. And the reason why it took me so long to send out my first newsletter is because I wanted it to be professional, represent me, be organic. I create a lot of content and I can come up with plenty of content to put in a newsletter, but there was no way to cleanly do this in a polished way and use a system that would do it all. So I ended up doing Bomb Bomb combined with Keeping Current Matters, and I use that as my newsletter. Yeah. And I just said, forget it. I got to get it going. I'm wasting way too much time. And my first touch was like December of like 2023. Because 2023 is the year I made this transformation. It took me forever to send out my first. So don't do that. Just look at 2 or 3 newsletters, pick one, and then just get up and running.
Yeah.
Okay. What else we got? Let's see.
Troy was
You have
asking if there's an
emails.
Android version
Oh,
of
no,
Contacts Plus. Do you know?
I don't, it'll work. I'm 95% sure this program works with Android just fine. And I think Android has the ability to also group and categorize the same kind of way. I did one of my in-person classes and no one had an Android in there to check it, but I'm probably 95%, sure, Thoy, that it's totally fine. And then Tim asked newsletters. I use Keeping Current Matters. So yeah. All right, let me keep going with this.
Cool.
We're going to be top of mind. We talked about being the primary. So here's the thing. Don't be an accidental agent. Okay. I thought that was clever. I heard that at one of the conferences that I went to. Everyone has a doctor, CPA, attorney, right? You have right away. Someone brings up something. Oh, okay. My doctor, my CPA. You need to be thought of. Oh, Shaune can help me with that. And I have probably about 10 people that are my glowing fans, right? You got to have them. Separate your absolute biggest cheerleaders and make sure we do something special for them too, by the way. Those guys, we need to make sure, they're going to remember you when anything in real estate comes up. Oh, Shaune can help with that. Oh, Shaune. And I get referrals all the time from those people. So don't be an accidental agent. And by avoiding that, we're going to be top of mind. And then offer solutions, without offering to help. Like you don't have to interject yourself. Someone's trying to sell their house and they know they got a big problem. Well, what if you look at, these 2 or 3 things and then let it go? They'll either call you, to list the property or not. We talked about 40, 30. I think some of this, we need to be systematic and consistent. And remember, I mentioned the more personal, the higher the connection rate. That's why it's real important to really know your primary database. It doesn't have to have, 500 people in it. You can make money on 100. But make sure the people in that is personable enough that you can be personable enough. It will really increase your connection rate. And frequency is more important than type of contact. That's why it's important to have a lot of touches throughout the year. We're not going to call our whole database every single month, but we can call them a couple times a year in between all the other touches that we're doing. And a lot of this comes directly out of Brian Eisenhower's book, Sphere of Influence in Real Estate. So, and you're welcome to refer back to that too. I got it on Audible, and I listen to it. I make notes. I do a lot of books on my Audible. That's a good question. I got to ask if I do a call to action on my newsletter, keeping current matters. I don't normally share that. I can share that. Let me see. Keeping current matters has its own way of doing it.
It's a great tool for newsletters, for just,
Do you
simple.
use it?
I've used it some, yeah. Yeah. Between that and, all the stuff we've learned on here with ChatGPT through Nick, I mean, there's so many ways now to create stuff, but keeping current matters is a great tool for, you can put one together, with them, with their service. You can put together one for buyers. You can put together one for sellers. You can combine both. They do video. It looks great.
All right, here we go. You're not gonna see it that way. You can see this though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is my newsletter. This is keeping current matters, what we did in January. It's just the first one I pulled open. So Happy New Year. And then it, top reasons people sell their homes, just generic. There is some generic stuff in there. The newsletters are great, and they're valuable. And I think my open rate's pretty high on it. So I know that I'm making the right type of connections. So at the very bottom will be whatever the call to action. Subscribe to my YouTube channel is what I'm doing, and it's something I've been trying to promote. Brian Eisenhower, if you can Google him, Jeff, and throw it in chat. Brian Eisen, ICEN, ICEN Howard.
Yeah.
And it's Sphere of Influence. He does training and stuff in this space. If you want to post that, you can create a call to action, Maria. Mine is subscribe to my YouTube channel. Because remember, I'm not trying to get cold clients. I want to stay credible in front of them. That's my purpose. So my purpose is to grow my credibility. So I actually have a podcast that and then I mentioned that earlier. This is the podcast on my YouTube channel. I want them to subscribe to that. This is the one interview I did with Tony King. Most of you probably know Tony King. I interviewed him actually in purpose at one of these offices. So anyway, I use that, and I'm promoting that. Okay, I'm promoting my YouTube channel on my Keeping Current Matters newsletter. So I hope that answers your question. And then you got the name of the book. Okay, good. Let's see. I got that. Yeah, exactly. Grow your credibility. Okay, so let's look at an example touch system. We got about 15, 16 minutes left. So I want to make sure we spend the time looking at the touch system. Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
This is an example of what one would look like, right? So some of them are real obvious. I'm gonna give you some tips on when you build your newsletters and your home bot. Again, I use Keeping Current Matters for my newsletters. I think it's probably the number one, I would think, out there. And don't get caught up. That was something I thought about. I don't want to put what everybody else is putting. Keeping Current Matters, not everyone signed up to a real estate agent's newsletter, okay? So keep in mind, your database is your database, and 99% of them will have never seen the information you're giving them unless they just so happen to have another real estate agent in their life giving them a newsletter. We're not bleeding over each other the way you think. So it's a really good option. And it looks professional, and it works with BombBomb, and it makes it easy for me to email everybody. I don't use KV Core because it's more cumbersome, and it has a lot more things in the way of trying to do it and make it clean and easy. That's why I use BombBomb. Just if you want to know why, that's why I chose to use it for my email system. It's just easier. And it really is designed for video emails because I do a lot of videos. I think on my YouTube, I had over 200 videos. I've trimmed it back down to about 150 videos. I do a lot of video content, and it gave me a better way to do that. So home updates, all of us should have some type of system in place that we connect with our audience in the space that we work in. We are real estate agents. It's okay to send them values in their homes, and you can do it twice a year. I think it's more valuable to hit them up every month with really good, relevant information. I use a system called HomeBot, and I think it is probably one of the cleanest, easiest, and coolest systems I've seen. And it's not about tracking value, it's about tracking equity. It's an important distinction. Equity drives decisions, and HomeBot's really more of a lender product more than it is a realtor product. And the main reason is because lenders, my lender partner is Todd Nunes. This is my back office. I have 400 clients, individual addresses in my system. But here's the power right here. Or if you can see that, my open rate. Anyone have any cold email system? I think it's 82% open rate. And then from that, meaning they open the email, they see the content, and then from that, almost a quarter of them click it and open the actual HomeBot system, and then they look at the information. And this is incredible. And my lender pays like 90% of it. I pay $25 a month for HomeBot. That's what it costs an agent. Okay. And I think when you cross like 500, it might go up, whatever. It's worth it. This is like the cheapest thing for the return that I get. I probably get 2 or 3 questions. Probably a month is probably where I'm at today. Specific, hey, I need to look at doing something with my house, or I saw your values you're posting, and they seem crazy high. Whatever, engage. And it's engaging content. Ask me questions. Maybe it is 200,000 too high. Great, let's talk about it, because you obviously are asking for a reason. It just creates engagement. And I just think it's incredibly valuable. So HomeBot is a really good monthly touch system. So back to my example touch system, 12 newsletters, 12 home updates. I'm already at 24. If all of you just did this, you'd be almost halfway there. I mean, I'm telling you, like, this is at least set this up. And I think it's valuable to set up a 2 time a year comps for the neighborhood. A lot of you are doing this. If I was your client and you sent me on January all the closings in my neighborhood for the year, that's an email I'm keeping. And I want to refer back to it. And then we're going to do the same thing for tax fighting time, right? We're going to give you all the comps for the prior year. And our highlight is I'm giving you all of them. Call me for an actionable plan. And our actionable plan, we're going to look at price per square foot, and we're going to start drilling it down and identifying the properties to help them fight their taxes. And I've got about 2 or 3 other pieces of advice to give when we go to fight taxes. That's why I did a video on it. 6 times a year, send a video. This is something, we all, and I'll tell you what, you can cheat. Keeping Current Matters offers a 1-minute video that's incredibly easy to do. They give it to you on your phone. There's a script, and it even has a chart. 1 minute. And it's whatever the latest thing people are complaining about. Oh my gosh, Trump's president. What's going to happen to our economy and home prices? Well, before we get all crazy, let me go ahead and walk. This is what happened the last time. It gives you an intelligent response. And then you can post that and send that in an email to your database 6 times a year. 6 videos is so easy. And I know a lot of you don't want to get on video. Just be yourself, be organic, and just do it. They know you, and they connect with who you are, not who you are trying to be. 4 times a year, text personal thinking of you messages. Now, this is where you need a little bit of tracking. Okay. You could throw this in a spreadsheet. The only thing I would track in the spreadsheet is probably the text, phone calls, maybe birthdays, and then home anniversary. I cheat. I use a company called EvaBot for anniversary gifts. So I send out a gift every single year, and I do it based on how I know them. I keep forgetting they changed it. Is it Jocelyn and Company? There we go. I mentioned that on December. They got bought out by a company called Jocelyn and Company. Anyone on here use EvaBot? Okay. It's a gift giving system. I'll just kind of show you what it looks like. So every single month, I'm sending out my annual, my home anniversary gifts. Okay. That's how my relationship is with them. I sold them a house. So I touched them with the home anniversary. And what's cool about the way these gifts work is they ask them, what are your interests? And it builds gifts around what they like. So it's at least tailored to them. And Joshua and Company is actually offering personalized gifts. You know, the ones that have like your logo on something. They're building that into the selection process as well. So it's pretty cool. Now it's really getting branded. It's not just sending them cool gifts that they pick off of Amazon or wherever they find them, but it's also giving them branded stuff. And I send them in my branded boxes. And my branded boxes, I haven't seen this. See what this looks like. Yeah, see right here. True West Realty Group. So obviously they like snacks, they like tea. I sent them a couple different shortbread type cookies, and it sends my box, my branded box, and then a sand water bottle with the bamboo cap, and then it has some tea. It sent that out to them. I mean, it's $30 to me, and that makes probably a lot of impact for them because they're thought of, and they're things that they like. You know, I like stuff like this. I'm a little more systematized than most of you. Most of you are probably going to be a lot more personable about the way you do things. I want to make sure I touch my sphere the right amount of times to be effectively in front of them so they think of me when it's time to do real estate. And it's worked really well for me. You guys can do birthdays. I typically like home sale connection. I think that's no one else is going to connect with them on the home sale, maybe the lender, but most of them don't. You know, why not, do that? And if I sold their house, they move into an apartment, then I might do birthday instead. And what I do for birthday is I send them a present a week before their birthday, and I write in a note, what's better than getting a present on your birthday, getting a present a week before your birthday, so I have a little fun with it. If you guys do charities, and these are just things to make sure you're staying in front of your sphere in the right way. If you have a real passion about a charity, post it for everyone. Say, hey, by the way, I'm going to be here. If any of you want to join me, you're welcome to. And keep in mind, 99% aren't going to join you, but they see you doing things and they see your heart, they see your passion, and they can connect with that. It's the same thing. I heard one person, I think at that Game On conference, all talking about ways to get people in your sphere of influence, but not how to manage it. They talked about, hey, if you're going to be especially if you're localized, hey, I'm going to go to this restaurant, tomorrow night at 5, any of you are welcome to join me. Right. And just send an open invitation to people in your sphere. These are things that you can make a part of your, you're going to go anyway. Why not connect with people that, you've sold real estate to? And of course you can do the standard marketing items, right? Thermos, fridge magnets, butcher blocks, kitchen knives, stuff with your brand, all that kind of stuff works really well. I created a magnet that was a home maintenance magnet. So that's my connection with them, right? It's real estate. And it tells them each month the thing that you need to be checking, on your house. It'd be the air filters, could be, smoke detectors, could be covering your faucets, whatever it is. Every month it has some type of, tip to make sure they're staying on top of their home maintenance. And all of this that I'm sharing right here, this is all before I even talked social media. Okay. Any questions on an example touch system?
It's really good. It's excellent.
I mean, these are all easy. Like this isn't, I told you, you're not spending a lot of money. This is not rocket science. It's just building, it's just systematizing.
Building it up and getting it organized. That's what stops people. But once you do that and it's done, and then you're just adding people in every week, whatever, but they just go into your system and now it's just done. I mean, it's so good,
This is not a social media class, but a lot of you, all of you are probably on social media somewhere, either Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. LinkedIn is in there. I don't care for it so much on this particular space. I see a lot of agents out there posting their closings and success stories on LinkedIn. The audience on LinkedIn to me is business to business. So I'm focused on connecting with agents on LinkedIn. That's me. That's the way I think about it. But really, there's still plenty of other space. Social media would be Facebook and Instagram. I'm pretty heavy on those spaces. I do 80% personal and I do 20% business. Okay. So here's my profile. I do a lot of fun videos. I have kids and I think I can relate with people a lot easier than, my cold, non-exciting personality. I think living my life through my kids has been a lot more fun. Like I did a fun one here, advisory notice, enter our backyard at your own risk. They're in their Orby battle. And I have them, and it's funny because I play the, what is it? Dusty Springfield, something happening here. I play that. So it's got like this, Vietnam War feel on it. It's kind of fun, but I like doing all this stuff. And then there's an interview I did with Kristen, and she's got like 10,000 people on her YouTube and she's killing it. So I did a short video of that. And then I promoted a business, my area star chiropractic. My son's into leatherworking. He builds a little leatherworking helmet for my cat. just, yeah, just fun stuff. And then he's over here telling me stories that are really hilarious. But anyway, so this is my social media, 80% personal, 20% real estate. It makes it so people can absorb you. You get tired of certain messages constantly, but I want to make it so I'm easy to absorb, and everyone can connect with me there. So that's what I do on my Instagram. My Instagram feeds to my Facebook, so my Facebook's getting all these same messages as well. Likes are high fives. We need to do that with people in our database. I tell you at a minimum, and I totally passed over this. This is really important. You need to connect your entire primary database. Okay. Do not forget to do this. It's painful. You got, let's say you get to 300 names. Now we're going to take those 300 and we're going to have to go through and check all of our social media and make sure we're connected with every single person, because we want to be touching them in all spaces that we operate in. Those are easy connections. It's painful up front. It pays out dividends over time, especially if you're going to be making, YouTube videos or videos in general. Comments are like digital hugs. And if you ever comment, you ever heard that before? Likes are high fives, comments are digital hugs. So when you actually comment, it's a lot more. It's a call to action, a higher level. It's easy just to like something. It's harder to comment. And it's also great if you can comment with a question. That's engagement. Get them to respond. Hey, I love those shoes you found for your son. Where did you find those at? Whatever. I mean, would you make a conversation, connect. That increases your engagement. We're not going to have time to go into the detail. I have kind of an easy, medium, and hard. And the easy is your 30 touches. I could cover 30 touches with all of you in the easy system, and that's the initial setup. The comps, the personal monthly newsletter, home values. You guys all can do that day one once you get your system set up. Every one of you can do this. Moderate would be making those videos. We'll be giving advice, and I give a lot of examples. And if you don't know what to post, I've got a playlist of 50, 60 of them. I mean, you can steal anything I've done. I don't have a license on any of it. You're welcome to copy, how I'm doing things or how I'm communicating with my group. And then expert is the events. Huge engagement, big time opportunities. This is where you really build your expert credibility in a space, is when you get to the expert level. You do this a couple of times a year, throw a couple of big events a year. That will really do well for you. And one thing to think about, go over the top of your biggest cheerleaders. Throw a really specific targeted opportunity for them to pour love into them, because they're the ones that are covering probably half your, referrals. Make sure we get those, your top 10 people. You must keep an active database continually touches to continually get referrals all year. A company with only a customer service department will be doomed to failure. You got to actively be focused on building that sphere of influence and managing it. It's built for longevity. Can any of you, and I think about these things like just, why do this? I didn't go into the heavy why of doing this. I do that in my actual workshop. It's important to have a purpose. This is a big change. This is a big commitment. And when we have to have a purpose and a why. Can any of you, call 50 cold FISBOs every day, Monday through Friday for 10 plus years? I think most of you burn out. Would you burn out if people were calling you to give you real estate business, for 10 years? Probably not. This is a sustainable business model, and it can keep you running. Create an action plan of time blocking. If you're going to do, thank you, Andy. If you're going to do this and commit to this, then we need to build out your database on your phone. You're going to spend 2 hours, every morning until we get that phone done, right? So you got a time block. And then we're going to time block when we're going to create the videos, when we're going to set up our newsletter, you got a time block. You guys have all heard of time blocking. If you don't put it in your calendar and time block it, it's a wishful thinking. No one likes to be sold to. I never ask for my sphere of influence. Who do you know who needs to buy or sell? And I never have. I mean, I'm telling you, never. I've certainly put myself into being the agent for them implied plenty of times. You're having a conversation with them and you just feel like, yeah, they're asking me, but they never really asked me. I'm going to act as if I'm the agent. I've done that plenty of times. That's smooth, but it's not hey, you got anyone that wants to buy or sell? I mean, it's sounding gong. Be a resource for all things real estate. Make sure you have a database of contractors. Know something about the economy. Have a response. What are the interest rates? When's the time to buy and sell? Be some type of real estate resource in anything in this space. For social media, I post a lot about my kids, but anything that I'm interested in, like right now, I got a Traeger, and I've been real fascinated with the whole system of long-term smoking and stuff like that. I've been using a propane, which to me is like the microwave of grilling, right? Super easy, throw it on, and I can control how long I sit out there, because I'll smoke a cigar while I'm grilling, and it's just been my experience. So I'll post about it, and I get comments and feedback because now it's sharing more personal things about me, and that makes a better connection. You should all have a 30-second elevator pitch what you do. I mentioned that before. And you should always have a why when you set up new systems. It's really important. Don't think that I'm just going to do sphere of influence tomorrow without any real purpose. I had a lady who looked at her database and closings she did the first 2 years. I did an interview with her, and she's killing it. She has 10,000 plus on her Instagram. She's well connected, and she's well connected with agents more than she is her own sphere. And I asked, and she wanted to figure out, why is it that some of my clients I really don't like working with, and some of them I do. And then she decided, you know what, I wanted to like who I work with. And she looked at all the people she closed, and all the people she closed that were not in her sphere, they were cold calls off Zillow or she had no other connection with them. She was a business transaction. And she's like, I don't want to work them anymore. And she made the concerted effort to only work with people that like, trust, and respect her. Her name is Rosemary Lewis. I actually put it on here. So I did a really cool interview with her on my podcast. Really good one. This is my dot card. I guess I could just pop that on there. Let's see if I can. I know where it's at. Here, I'll pop my dot card in there. You guys are welcome to use that. I have both my YouTube channel and my school account. Thanks, Abby. Abby's one of my big cheerleaders. I always appreciate Abby. She's one of my agents on my team. She always comes around to my events. I love it. This is my dot card. I dropped it in there. On here, I have my YouTube channel with my podcast on it. And then the big thing that I really want to help everyone is my school channel, which is, it's called Real Estate Success. And it's on School. School's a platform that's half community. And then it also offers half training. So in the school platform, I have a number of classes and stuff to help you guys in different spaces in real estate. So you guys want to join, it's free. There's no cost.
It's awesome.
And I'm trying to pop that in there. And then that's all I got.
Cool. Great stuff. Really good stuff. I think it's such a great time to get something like this organized. It is a little bit slower right now. We're going to come into the spring and summer season. And again, we all know people who are going to be buying or selling, or they know someone who is, and it's just a matter, will they think of you when they hear about that? Will they think of you when they hear that their coworker is looking to make a move? And hey, I got somebody you got to call. You got to call Shaune. You got to call Jeff. You got to call Corey. You got to think about that. And it's a great time to get that stuff organized. So any last comments, thoughts, questions for Shaune? Really, really good stuff. Anybody?
Thanks a lot, Shaune. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Great.
Definitely.
Good stuff.
And Jim, big welcome to EXP. It's good to have you here. Chris, new as well. Chris Harris. It's good to have you with us. New partners here. So very cool. Shaune, thank you very much. Guys, this will be posted in the workplace group probably sometime tomorrow, and I'll get all these links in there as well. It'll be in the comments. It'll also be on our Freedom Team YouTube channel. You'll find the recording there as well. So anyway, great to have you here. Okay, appreciate you guys. Join Shaune's school group, his school community. Good stuff in there for sure. Thank you, Shaune. Appreciate it, man. Okay.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Okay, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. If you want to come back, we'll be here. Just open mastermind. Okay, same time, same Zoom link. We'll see you then. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.